Okay, Matt, you should be live on YouTube. So that looks like we're up and recording. So
Okay,
it's still a couple of minutes before, so we'll wait another few minutes.
sounds good.
So Matt, are you teaching during class this semester? Are you teaching during this time?
So, I teach the biometeorology class in the spring, and I'm teaching a agricultural based course in the fall. It's issues in ag, food, and environment. So,
Oh, interesting.
yep. So I don't get much of a break from teaching throughout the year.
Do you have a 1-1,
Do
like
what
one
now?
class per? Do you have one class per semester?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, that's what I
I
have
don't think
too.
I could do more than one.
I agree. Same here. Well, welcome everyone, and Matt, I have 1 o'clock, so feel free to start whenever you're ready.
All right, let's get to it. Welcome, everybody. September edition of the Kentucky Monthly Climate Perspective on Drought and Hydrologic Conditions. Hope everybody's doing well. Here in Lexington, we're actually seeing radar light up a little bit today. Got some good rainfall across the region. Western Kentuckians, I talked to some agents out there, not so much, and arguably they need it the most. And of course, you folks down in Bowling Green have been in the same boat also, but at least it's been cooler, right? So, all right, moving to the second slide here. Webinar series presented by the Kentucky Climate Center at WKU in partnership with the National Integrated Drought Information System in coordination with the Midwest Drought Early Warning System. Production delivery of this webinar reflects the contributions of many partners, including the folks down there at the Kentucky Climate Center and the Kentucky Mesnet, myself here in the UK Ag Weather Center, and of course Chip Zimmer over with the Division of Water. Next scheduled webinar, same time next month, first Thursday of the month, October 2nd. So won't be too. I mean, we got a pretty late webinar here in September, so less than a month away from the next one. This webinar is being recorded on YouTube and available for viewing afterwards. Just wanted to start out. Here is that radar picture. This is what I saw driving in this morning. It was absolutely pouring on my car coming in from Georgetown. Something I haven't seen for quite some time. I honestly don't know if I've used the windshield wipers on my car for over a month. So really nice to see. This was a nice soaking rainfall for the Bluegrass region. We'll look at some of those totals here in a bit, but yeah, rainfall has been lacking this past month across the state of Kentucky. So same old here, looking at the outline, recent conditions, what precipitation and temperatures were like going back through August, look at the impacts to agriculture and beyond. Something we, or at least I took out this particular month is severe weather impacts because we're in a drought. There's a lack of severe weather out there. Go through a quick summary and then a question and discussion session. Now, we're talking drought now. We'll get to the U.S. Drought Monitor, but we're lucky that it's been relatively cool outside. It could have been a lot worse than what it actually is. So we went through the first 2 or 3 weeks of August. It was hot and humid, just like it was in June and July. Had those dew points increasing to 70 plus degrees, had highs getting into the 90s. We even had a couple hundred-degree temperatures out in Western Kentucky. But we got to that last week of August and it cooled down pretty abruptly. Had highs struggling in the 70s. We even had low temperatures getting into the 40s. So I've been telling everybody it's been kind of a blessing in disguise and different from the past few droughts we've seen during the fall season in Kentucky. But Some areas are worse off than others. During the months of July and August, we had those what you call hit or miss thunderstorms. Some people got hit pretty good. You get one, maybe up to 2 inches of rainfall with these storms if they sit over your area. But you go 20 miles away, not even that. It's dry as a bone. And this is one of those examples in Scott County where I live. This bottom picture down here, I took this picture of pastures. They don't honestly look that bad out there right now. I think Scott County is considered abnormally dry. And yes, it is abnormally dry. You can tell, drive around the city, drive around the country here, but we still have some green left in the pastures. That's opposed to what my buddy sent me, Dr. Jackson from Mercer County, and he's got his own cattle operation out there. Pastures a lot more browner. And if you look closely back there behind that tree, he's actually starting to supplement with hay at this point. And this has been the common theme the past few years, and this is year number 4. We get in the fall season. This is our dry season in Kentucky, but it's been much drier than what we're typically accustomed to. So looking at the past 7 days, I want to preface this by saying I took these maps yesterday. So these are made on September 3rd. I think I grabbed these yesterday evening, but at this point in time, state average about 14 hundredths of an inch this past week. This does not include anything we saw today. So just wanting to say that again. Before this rainfall, 14 hundredths on average across the state. You can see some of those pop-ups did hit in South Central Kentucky and up there in the northern bluegrass, but for the most part, you still see a lot of zeros on this map. And this was the trend for most of most of August. These are the totals according to the Kentucky Mesnet 30-day precipitation as of September 3rd. I was looking at the data for August from our data sets in the UK Ag Weather Center, and our average for the entire month of August itself was 0.97 inches. So looking back at historical data, I think it's pretty safe to say that it's going to be the all-time driest August ever recorded. That record stood at 1.48 inches back in 1925. So whenever your preliminary data is more than a half inch less than that, I feel pretty confident saying it's going to be the all-time driest August on record. But you look around the state, you can really see that hit and miss storm setup. Some places out there in Western Kentucky, 0.04 inches in Union County, 0.05 just east of there. You go down into the purchase area, 0.15, Fulton County at 0.24. So there's a number of locations that recorded less than a quarter inch. And I'll get to it in a second, but we actually had one county that didn't record a drop for the entirety of August. And that's something you don't see very often in Kentucky. There's other places on the other side of the spectrum that got hit by those storms. 4.11 inches, 4.35 inches up there in the bluegrass area. Southeastern Kentucky, they're in the mountainous regions, going down to Harlan County. They actually got some decent rainfall down that way. And we are talking about drought and abnormally dry conditions. They're actually one of the areas that is not abnormally dry right now. So moving back 60 days, and the state average is 5.38 inches, which is about 2.5 inches below normal. But if I went back to the 30-day map, we were about 2.5 inches below normal over the past 30 days. So that deviation is really carrying over to July when we were closer to normal. Go back 90 days, and we're running about 1.5 inches, 2 inches below normal across the state. So over the past 3 months, we've averaged about 11 inches. Some places, again, over in Eastern Kentucky, a little bit more, 19.21 there at the Harlan County station, and some higher spots here and there across the state with that hit and miss activity. So I'm just looking at the chat as I'm talking here. It looks like Shane said Second all-time driest August on record in Lexington at a half inch. Ron has put some good information on here. 0.86 inches at his station in Scott County for August. Picked up a little more than 0.6 inches today. So uh, getting close just in today's rainfall of what we saw all month in Scott County. That says something, just shows how dry it's been. Now, looking at the rainfall we've seen the past 24 hours, there was a good amount of rainfall that came down in central Kentucky, north central Kentucky, 2.04 inches there, right next to the river, 1.69, 2.14. But then it tapered right before it got to Warren County and whatnot. So I guess all the folks at WKU didn't do the proper rain dance. Is that true down that way? I don't know. But we got some decent rainfall in the bluegrass, 1 inch in spots there in Fayette County, half inch at North Farm, about 6/10 at South Farm. And the rain keeps on coming along the mountainous areas down there in southeastern Kentucky, a good inch um, for those locations. So very good to see a significant rainfall event, and what I should say is a slow soaking rainfall event that we haven't seen in quite some time. But of course, you look out there at Western Kentucky and all the zeros, they missed out. And some of those areas are getting pretty dire when we're looking at agricultural drought that way. So looking at departures from normal rainfall over there on the right, looking at 30-day departures at the top. Most of the state running anywhere from 1 to 3 inches below normal. This past month, going on to 60 days, still seeing those departures pop up, most of which occurred in August, and then 90 days. Actually, I put the wrong 90-day. It's not departure. That's just total precipitation. That's my fault. But again, Kentucky averaged 0.97 inches of rainfall for the month, according to data with the UK Ag Weather Center. That involves Kentucky Mesonet data and data coming from ASOS stations, the stations you would see at airports across the state. That's about 2.5 inches below normal, and it was hit and miss activity for the most part. So we went from our third wettest January to July on record, average of 41.72 inches across the state. That's pretty close to what we average for a year at about 50 inches per year. And we went from that to the driest August ever recorded. So a total 180-degree turn from the wet year of 2025 thus far. Number of stations in August record less than a 1/4 inch, and Breckinridge County was one of those counties and didn't observe a drop. And looking at the map in the top left-hand corner, I think this map is absolutely fantastic from the Kentucky Mesonet. Shane or Jerry, if you get a chance, you might put the link to your maps page in the chat box, because again, it's absolutely fantastic. But one of the maps they have is consecutive days with less than 1/10 of an inch of rainfall. They also have another map with consecutive days with less than a 1/4 inch of rainfall. And it can really show the areas that are really starting to hurt across Kentucky. And there's places over there in Western Kentucky, Webster County, Union County, even going down there into southern Pennyrile and Warren County, that went 40 plus days without more than 1/10 of an inch of rainfall. So 40 plus days, you're going to see major impacts start to arise. So looking at temperature departures, first 3 weeks of the month, relatively warm and humid. We went through June and July. If you look at June and July as a whole, it was our 9th warmest June, July on record. And that was carrying over into the first half of August. But lucky enough, we had some frontal boundaries move through. It really cooled off over the latter half of the month. And we saw temperatures dropping into the 40s tonight. So looking at this map in the upper left-hand corner, we've went from, this is heat indices on August 18th. hitting 110, 111 over there in the Purchase region to, hold on, I got to keep going here, to August 27th. We had low temperatures hitting in the 40s for most of the state. Excuse me. So temperatures that would be more typical of October, we were seeing in late August. So I'm not complaining. I loved it. I actually lit a bonfire in my backyard. Scott County is lucky enough to not be under a burn ban at this point, but just enjoying the cooler temperatures and roasting some hot dogs out in the backyard. For the month as a whole, it was actually below normal a little bit, and it's no matter whether you looked at average temperature for the month of August, minimum temperature, or maximum temperature. Over here at the right, this is a look at miniature minimum temperature departures for the month of August across the Midwest region, Kentucky, seeing the more extensive departures running below normal. You go up there in the upper Midwest, though, and you're on the other side of the spectrum. But we did have a couple counties hit 100 degrees on August 19th before we got this cool down enter the area. And hope I'm not mistakenly saying this, but I'm pretty sure it was the only time we saw 100 degrees across the state at these two locations for the year. So much lower humidity accompanying this cool down. We'll take it. I always tell folks to look at dew point when we're talking about humidity. Once it gets to 70 plus, it's extremely humid outside. And once we have dew points dip down to the 50s or even 40s, like we've seen recently, it's very comfortable outside. And we're very lucky. I put a bullet point down there. We're very lucky that it's been relatively cool, because usually with drought conditions, you have heat that accompanies the drought conditions, and that's what's happened the past 3 years. And it's kind of a double-edged sword. And this year we haven't had it. So drought could be worse than what it is. We're lucky we've had the cooler temperatures in place. So now we're going to start talking about those drought impacts, what's going on, looking at soil moisture first. Topsoil moisture and subsoil moisture over on the right. This is from the USDA crop report. This is looking at the top and subsoil moisture and the percent short to very short category. Now, this is from August 3rd. 25% of Kentucky considered short to very short. Looking at topsoil moisture, and 22% at that time looking at subsoil moisture. Now, fast forward to the end of the month, the latest crop report, we saw some pretty significant jumps. We are now around 3/4 of the state. The topsoil and subsoil moisture is considered short to very short. So quite the jump from the start of August to the end of August. Again, we were going into August and we were relatively good shape with how wet it had been in the Bluegrass State. And then the faucet essentially shut off. Soil moisture anomaly up there in the upper left-hand corner. These brown tan shades is something we haven't seen in quite a few months in Kentucky. They're showing up now. And then you can really see soil moisture starting to drop off whenever we're looking at the Kentucky Mesnet. So first map here is Fulton County. Soil moisture at different levels, 2, 4, 8, 20, and 40 inches. You're really going to see it show in those shallower levels in the short term. And then the deeper levels a little bit long term, and you're seeing both of those go on the downhill trajectory as we speak. Moving on to Casey County, this has been another hot spot that's seen a lack of rainfall the past month in Kentucky, and you're seeing these levels go in the wrong direction also. So soil moisture has taken a hit, and stream flows have also taken a hit. For most of the good part of the year, we were seeing above normal stream flows, but now we're seeing these orange and red dots start to pop up across the state, signaling much below normal, or just below normal stream flows for this time of year. And granted, this is the time of year we typically see low stream flows, but They're even lower than what we're typically accustomed to as we head into the month of September. Something I want to point out, and this is going to impact the agricultural side too. Looking at the Mississippi and the Ohio River at Cairo and Hickman down there in Western Kentucky. There's a little concern moving forward that these rivers are going to drop to those low water thresholds. This is the point where we start thinking about dredging. We start thinking about navigation, getting hung up along these rivers, and that can ultimately impact trade on the river also. So they're going to be loading barges here in the coming months with Kentucky grain crops. And unfortunately, it's been a bad year for grain prices. And we don't want farmers to hurt more than what they already are if it's going to cost more to ship this grain down the river. So hopefully, outlooks don't look great. We'll get to that here in a second, but hopefully we don't get into some of these dire situations like we've seen the past few years on the Mississippi River. So this is where we're at right now. We're still looking decent, but again, you see the trajectory going out to the middle of September, and it's not great getting into, if not close to those low water thresholds. Now, the U.S. Drought Monitor, we take into account the soil moisture, we take into account stream flows, you start taking into account the impacts, and you ultimately get the Drought Monitor, how it looks today. Most of the state is either in moderate drought or abnormally dry. The one exception is down there in southeastern Kentucky that's hit more storms than what they've missed. But 57% of the state now considered in moderate drought, 95% considered abnormally dry or in moderate drought. So this has been a theme past. This will be year number 4, fall season, going into drought across the Bluegrass State. So we're accustomed to this, something you don't want to see. Like to have a wet fall at some point in time. It just hasn't happened here in the recent 4 years. But this has came on pretty fast. I guess you would call this the definition of a flash drought. Mainly impacting agriculture, the short-term drought, but we are seeing, as I was talking about, stream flows in the river, we're starting to see those hydrologic issues start to arise. So this is where we are on September 2nd. Just looking over the past 4 weeks, we've had 2 class degradations going from no drought conditions to abnormally dry to moderate drought. And I gotta say, looking at Western Kentucky, especially, unless they get some decent rainfall with this event coming up on Friday into Saturday, probably going to see more degradations across the area. So we'll see where this goes. Again, we'll get to the outlooks. They don't look great, but yeah, this is where we're at right now. And take a little bit of a wider view across the entire Midwest region. We're not alone. Western Kentucky, or I should say Kentucky as a whole, has seen quite the jump in drought coverage across the state. Missouri's the same way, Illinois, Indiana, you name it. And you can see it in this coverage change map across the Midwest. Upper Midwest has been lucky. They've been seeing more in the way of showers and storms, progressive region. It seems like it's been a while since I've seen Iowa with nothing going on up there. But yeah, you go across the lower Ohio Valley, the lower Corn Belt region, plenty of drought starting to pop. Now, looking at ag impacts, first off, I want to say I put the drought monitor timeline up there, and these fall droughts have been no stranger. They've been relatively short-lived, but they tend to pop up this time of year, especially being our dry season. You go back to 2016, that was arguably one of the worst fall droughts we've seen in quite some time. That was whenever we had all the wildfires across eastern Kentucky. You probably remember seeing the video of the wildfires down in Gatlinburg. Fast forward to September 2019. That was our, if I remember right, our driest all-time September on record. But that was followed by what was our fourth wettest October ever recorded. So you see the trend here. It's here and it's gone. It's here and it's gone. We saw the same thing in 2022, 23, 24. It's here and it's gone pretty quickly. So hopefully we see the same sort of rain play out in 2025. And yeah, we'll be looking to the tropics and for more of these frontal passages to come through. But look at the impacts on the agricultural side. I kept that picture there of farmers feeding some supplemental hay. Of course, bad side of this cuts into the winter hay supplies. I think good thing for us, I would say we're not to the level we've seen the past few years yet, but yes, maybe some of the folks out in Western Kentucky, but they don't have as much in the way of pastures, more so grain crops. Throughout that region of the state. But pasture and range conditions, as of the last USDA report, 35% of pasture and ranges in Kentucky are considered poor to very poor condition. And this was an increase of 17% from the previous week. Probably, I would assume, see improvement in next week's crop report based on the rain we've seen across the eastern half of the state. But Western Kentucky is probably going to get worse off. So, yeah, the other side of this is a double-edged sword for these pastures. Not only are you feeding hay early, but those fall hay cuts are getting impacted too in the wrong direction. Looking at corn and soybean conditions, this is looking at the percent good to excellent category. Looking at corn, Kentucky sitting at 50% good to excellent. Soybean conditions at 42%. Of course, we're going to be getting close to harvest. I've heard harvest has already started for some folks out across the western half of the state. But just like pasture, you see these maps going in the wrong direction. We were at 56% in the good to excellent category for corn last week, down to 50. And we were up there at 56% for soybeans last week and down to 42. So we can go in the wrong direction pretty quick. That chart down there at the bottom shows good to excellent condition throughout the year. We were pretty stable through May, June, July, hovering there between 60, 80%, but we're seeing quite the drop as we head into early September. Same thing with soybeans, but you're seeing a more significant drop. And I would say most of this is coming from the fact that late planted beans, those double crop beans, are going to be in a big way impacted by these drought conditions. They could really use some moisture right now, but they're simply not getting it. I was looking at the USDA crop progress and condition report, and 23% of Kentucky's soybeans are now considered to be poor to very poor condition, a 9% increase from the previous week. So going in the wrong direction, not only for pastures, but for grain crops too. We'll start with harvest pretty soon, and we'll see what those moisture levels are like going to the elevators. But what I want to touch on before I go to the next slides also is with fall harvest coming up, there are quite a few burn bans out and about right now. I think there's 37 total across the state the last time I checked this morning. And with that comes the threat of increased fire potential as we're harvesting crops. I always tell folks it just takes one spark. So do your walk arounds, check those belts, check those bearings. We don't want any dry matter on them that might spark a fire at some point. So even going about doing that check, keep those fire extinguishers on hand. If it gets bad enough, maybe we're talking about tanker trucks or discs to take some fields down if the fire does go from a machine to the field. So just be careful, keep an eye on things. I know you all do, for all the farmers and producers on this call or watching the recording, but yeah, just watch out. And lastly, well, I guess we've already talked about the river situation. So let's hope we get some decent rainfall, make it up into our neck of the woods. For farmers and producers, a lot of the time we're looking to the south, we're looking to the Gulf to see if there's any tropical activity. I would say it's been relatively quiet. Yes, we had that major hurricane out in the Atlantic Ocean. Didn't impact any land masses on the United States or anything. But we're going into September and October, which is going to be peak hurricane season. I checked the updated National Hurricane Center outlook, and they're still forecasting above normal activity this year. They do have a good size probability for near normal, but they do expect above normal activity in the Atlantic Basin this year with 13 to 18 named storms, 5 to 9 hurricanes, and 2 to 5 major hurricanes. So I know you can cross at least one major hurricane off the list, but so yeah, farmers, producers will be looking to the south. Now, moving to the forecasts and the outlooks. I took this 7-day QPF quantitative precipitation forecast, basically look at the liquid rainfall forecasted over the next 7 days. Took it this morning, and good chunk of rainfall falling across the eastern half of the state. This will include rainfall we're also expected to see on Friday and into Saturday. Good news for UK football fans. I'm thinking it's late enough kickoff. If you're going to the game, we should dodge most of the rain. But this is the kind of rainfall we want to see in the forecast. I only wish there was more rainfall in this map for Western Kentucky. So Western Kentucky may turn to a hot spot based on this forecast, the upcoming week, and the outlooks. After this rain on Thursday, Friday, precipitation chances are basically non-existent over the rest of the weekend and going into early next week. Look at the outlook, 6 to 10 day temperature and precipitation outlooks for September 9th through the 13th. Looks like below normal temperatures hanging on into the middle stages of next week with below normal rainfall forecast to stay over the area. You see those darker shades, that would be higher confidence from the Climate Prediction Center that this is going to happen. The lighter the shades, not as confident, but still leaning in that direction. So I would say pretty good chance below normal temperatures based on the forecast. They're going to stick around into next week, along with below normal rainfall. Moving into that 2-week time frame, 8 to 14 day temperature and precipitation outlooks. Guess what? You thought summer was over. Think again. This has been a trend. We might see a cool down here and there, but summer temperatures are going to creep back into the area. We get into the middle stages of September, highs in the mid to upper 80s, maybe around 90. That'll be your above normal temperatures we'll likely see at some point. But something I don't like to see is those below normal temperature or precipitation shades still showing up across Kentucky. So they are leaning below normal in terms of precipitation. Unfortunately, this is our dry season, so we don't see a lot of rainfall anyways as it sits. So hopefully we see some of those green shades sooner rather than later. Looking at the month as a whole, I'm a little surprised. Equal chances for temperatures. So this is taking account below normal temperatures we started out the month with, but is expected to get warmer as we head through September. And what I'm surprised is this monthly precipitation outlook. Started off the month relatively dry. We are getting some rainfall today, but it's not a statewide event. And look at the outlooks over the next 2 weeks, turning drier. So this meant this map would hint to me maybe we get some decent rainfall later in the month, but I'm not seeing it right now. Seasonal temperature outlook going out September, October, and November, leaning toward above normal temperatures and maybe some below normal precipitation in Western Kentucky and equal chances for below, near, or above normal rainfall across the remainder of the state. Going to the winter months, I know it seems like it's a long ways away, but I saw something pop up on my social media that we were only 16 weeks away from Christmas the other day. So it's not too far off. And big note of emphasis is the El Nino Southern Oscillation. It can have an impact on whether we see above, near, below normal precipitation temperatures here in Kentucky. And right now we are leaning toward La Nina as we go into the winter months, which would mean a wetter winter for the state of Kentucky. The thing is, you look at the probabilities there. Look at December, January, and February, leaning La Nina, neutral. And whenever we don't have a strong signature in place, a strong likelihood of La Nina or a strong El Nino or La Nina in place, it makes it less likely that we can rely on these forecasts. So just be honest, and yeah, we're not necessarily seeing that strong signature of a strong El Nino or a strong La Nina in 2025, 26. So looking at the monthly stream flows, they are actually showing near normal stream flows for the month of September. Again, a little surprising for me. I'll let Shane or Jerry chime in if you want. Zach on I personally would have thought there would have been some below normal shades on here, but that's just me. And then the U.S. seasonal drought outlook. Have drought development likely mainly along the Ohio River there and heading into the Green River region of Western Kentucky and the Northern Purchase region. Does have drought persisting across Western Kentucky while having some drought removal likely there in South Central Kentucky. So I would say that makes sense based on what we just saw move through the area. Still need more rainfall, but eastern half of the state may be heading a little bit in the right direction outside of those outlooks. Significant wildland fire potential. We're good right now. We'll see how the coming weeks progress, and this map may very well change as we head into the month of October. So quick summary, driest August ever recorded. Again, a 180-degree turn from what we saw the first half of 2025, averages 0.97 inches. Having agricultural drought conditions on the rise. I have talked to some county agents across Western Kentucky today, and they are concerned, very concerned moving forward if we don't get rain pretty soon, which it doesn't look like we are. It's going to be the fourth straight year of drought conditions during the fall season. Forecast long-term outlooks and the lack of tropical activity is a cause for concern. We'll see about the drought monitor. I would assume we're going to see some degradations across the western half of the state next week, but still got to see what kind of rain we get from this Friday, Saturday system. Thankfully, it has been relatively cool, but looking at those outlooks, might be in for some more summer heat as we progress into the second, third week of September. So that's what I got. Next scheduled webinar, October 2nd, Thursday, same time, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central. If you have any questions, feel free to contact any of us. Our emails are right there. And I want to put in a quick comment about this Kentucky Drought and Hydrologic Impact Reporter. If you have a chance, scan that QR code. Chip and the folks over there at the Division of Water State Drought Committee, they would really like feedback. If you can upload a picture of what's going on at your farm, your house, wherever you might be, of what's going on there. Maybe you're looking good. Maybe you're looking terrible. It's good to hear both sides of the spectrum, and that can actually help shape the map in the U.S. Drought Monitor, which if it got bad enough, can lead to assistance for farmers and producers across the state. So look at that livestock forage program. But yeah, please scan that QR code, and if you get a chance, please update that map. It's always good to hear from you all. If you just want to send me or Chip or Jerry a quick email with a picture or some comments, that works too, and we can forward on to um, Chip and them at the Division of Water. But that's what I got. I'm gonna open up to questions and answers, or questions and discussion. But I'm gonna look back here at the comments. Let's see. Chip said technically a flash drought requires 3 category degradation in 8 weeks, so not quite a flash drought yet. I like that dot 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 yet. Um, let's see. Jerry put that link on there for the Kentucky Mesnet maps. Again, that's a great resource, a great source of information looking at Kentucky's climate. Shane, late soybeans planted around July 1st already showing tinges of yellow on their leaves near my home in South Warren County. Good to know. Good to know. I was talking to those county agents out in Western Kentucky. Beans are very short this year and are showing signs of stress out that way. Chip, we were so wet this spring and early summer that base flows are still elevated, which is helping keep stream flows normal in most areas. Okay. The rain, cool temps will help keep it that way. That's good to know. So that explains the outlook a little bit. So, all right. Anybody have any questions? Chip, Jerry, anything you want to add? Anything I forgot? Feel free.
Interesting stats, Matt. Especially with it being the driest August. It's a little surprising that that's a record because if you look at, say, October, the old record is like zero point 0.3 inches for the month. So, or something around that, maybe zero point 0.2 for the month. So a little surprising that's the record. But on the other hand, gosh, we didn't have any. I don't think we had a dry. I don't know if we had much rain at all at the Mesnet site during August. I know we went 40 something days here with less than 1/10 of an inch on any given day. Um, but yeah, interesting stats, especially after starting the year as the wettest year through those first, 5 months or so.
40 plus days will do it. That'll hurt. And there's plenty of locations that have seen that. Even if you're not at 40 days, there's a number of stations that were 20 plus. So yeah.
Any other questions, anyone?
Yeah, Jerry, to answer your question about the mesonet tallies for Warren County, specifically for farm, it was less than 2/10 for the entire month. So it was bone dry. And I can tell you that at my house, I only had 1/10 of an inch of rain for all of August. And I don't even recall September 2019 being that dry. But to Chip's point regarding the street flows with the rivers, creeks, and their tributaries, I live pretty close to Drakes Creek, which kind of snakes through the southern part of Warren County. It empties into the Barren River. It was a little bit lower September last year during that particular drought event than it is right now. Right now, it's about a couple of tenths or, yeah, about 2, 3 inches higher than it was this time of year ago, just for reference.
When it gets this time of year, the base flows are so low that it gets hard to get down below that unless you're already in a drought. So that's part of the reason right there. So just having that extra little bit of water from the base flows from all that rain early in the years, when you keep them just elevated, doesn't mean they're not low. I mean, relative to the rest of the year, but that's kind of how we are most years. So
And Matt, I found it pretty interesting that slide that you showed the prediction for the Ohio River level at Cairo and or Cairo, I guess is how to pronounce it. Um, and I guess they're going off that forecast, for the region. You showed the outlook, the drought outlook for the month that showed that entire area, with the drought intensifying. So I guess that Ohio River level forecast is based off of that. But or at least yesterday they got some nice rain amounts up near Owensboro and some parts along the river. So maybe that won't be quite as dire as that prediction, but pretty interesting forecast, looking at the medium to long term there.
Yeah, yeah. I hope so. It's been rough out that way. I'll have to find the PowerPoint I had put together, but I was on a presentation here a couple of years ago, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the largest percentage of the lower Mississippi is fed by the Ohio River. And yeah, any rain
You're
we can
correct.
get. Sorry, go ahead.
You're correct about that.
Yeah, okay.
The lower Mississippi is fed by the Ohio. That's where we get all of basically that's where our flooding comes from, is out of the Ohio River.
Yeah,
That's why in Hickman most all of us go by the Cairo gauge.
okay.
Whatever the stage is, whatever it's doing today, we'll roughly get that water in Hickman tomorrow.
Okay. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. So, yeah, it's hopefully we can get some water in that river upstream. And even though we've been relatively dry in Western Kentucky, but yeah, 4 straight year of slowed navigation on the Mississippi River is not ideal. So,
I'm not hearing anything right now out of the river or anything, but we're still early in harvest.
yeah.
So most things are going to storage. Um, just pulled up the basis out of Hickman, and we're looking at CGB is 40 cents under, and well, corn is actually at Cargill is only 17 under, soybeans is 40 under.
Okay.
So we're getting some pretty heavy basis, but not nearly what it could be.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully we get the rain going again, and yeah, I wouldn't mind some tropical activity heading north out of the Gulf. So I think was it 2012 Hurricane Isaac saved us? But or I shouldn't say saved us, but saved late soybeans that year, I want to say. But yeah, probably too
I
late
believe
this
in
year.
last, yeah, even was it last year, Hurricane Lean really helped out Kentucky with a statewide 6 inches, and at a time when we didn't realize how much we needed it, because after that we went almost all of October with no rain. So last year was another year where the tropical stuff really bailed us out.
If only Mother Nature could provide us with 1 inch of slow soaking rainfall every week of the growing season, it'd be awesome. But oh man, she has it out for us in Kentucky, I guess.
Yeah, we wouldn't need these webinars. So there's that.
There you go. There you go. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, Matt, they're doing some number crunching here while we've been on. If you take away the final week of August where it was so cool, this could have been a much hotter summer overall for cities like Louisville, Lexington, and Bowling Green. But as it was the 8th warmest summer all time for Louisville. For Bowling Green was just out of the top 10. It came in 11th warmest all time, right behind 2016 and 1932, with an average temperature of 79.8 degrees. That was propelled upward quite a bit by all the overnight low temperatures that we had that were only in the 70s, in some cases mid or upper 70s, by that very muggy July. Meteorology 101, you can't see the air temperature fall below the dew point. And with the dew points running in the upper 70s, even lower 80s, you're going to get some warm temperatures like that. Then for Lexington, they were their 30th warmest all time, June, July, August, that period, with 76.2 degrees. That was no doubt tempered, though, by 3 straight nights of record lows during the
Yep.
final week of August for them.
I think that was the first time ever that's happened too.
It
So,
was indeed. Yes.
I'm not complaining though. I very much enjoyed having the windows open. So anybody else? All right, well, we'll hang it up there. And see you all October 2nd, same time. Jerry, I don't know if you have anything else you want to say, but
No, thanks, Matt. And yeah, interesting webinar as always. So thank you. And see everyone here again next month.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.